Yes, hello viewers. My name is Nathan Matovu here at KISA Projects. Today I've come to take you through the process of the art of bookbinding. We are going to do it together, me and you, here. Yeah, using some simple tools. How to bind, how to fix a marble onto the cover board, how to underline a paper fabric at the spine of the book, and even how to trim the entire book using a manual book cutting guillotine. Stay tuned, let's get into the workshop. Thank you. I'm using glue, I'm using a binding wick, I'm using a toothbrush, but you can use a regular paint brush. I'm using a binding needle, paper cutter, paper fabric, marbles, cover boards, and papers. So here we get started. Start by creating signatures. This is how we create signatures. Now this is our first signature. I'm using a toothbrush to sharpen the crease, but you can use anything. They are very smooth to sharpen your crease of each signature you have just folded, or what you can call piles, book piles. Now here I have 2 piles, adding more piles or signatures. It is simple and easy. You can do it from your home. You see now I'm using a small room to manufacture my book. Now we have how many piles? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can add more, one other pile. I count my papers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember always to be neat. Yeah, now here our signatures or piles. We have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 signature or 5 piles in one book. Now the next step is binding book with binding wick. Yeah, now our next step is binding our signatures or our piles with a binding wick. So I use my clips to indicate marks where my binding wick will be passing. So these are the clips. They help to hold the signatures or the piles together. Yeah, it is a simple procedure. You can even do it from your home. Then I mark the places, or I mark at the spine of the book where my binding wick will be passing. Yeah, as simple as this. I pass the wick into the hole of the binding needle. As simple as this. So now I'm ready to go or to start with my process of the art of book binding, or binding a book with a binding wick. A trim on the binding wick. Yeah, so I'm going to use this one. And now we get started. The major part of binding the book with the binding wick. This is my wick, size 11. So I remove the clips and I start binding each signature at a time. Each signature at a time. When we are binding, we start from the spine of the book, the back of the book, and through the center, the other center, then back again to the spine, like this. So I get another signature or another pile. So I get another pile, make sure that the headers are facing apart to each other. Remember, the binding wick should pass from the spine of the book to the center, then to the other center, and back again to the spine. As simple as this. So the most critical part lies here. We have to create a notch to join these two signatures together. Something like this. This is what we call a notch or a niche. So I get my binding needle, I pass it through this niche or notch, whatever the accent. Then I strengthen my two signatures together. As simple as this. Yeah, now my two signatures are strong enough. So I just tie them tightly. Anyhow, just like the way I can tie anything. Like for more free time, that is 1, 2. Free. Then I start adding up more other piles or signatures. The process continues. Now this is our last signature or our last pile for our sample book today. Yeah, now I've finished binding my signatures on my pile with a binding wick. Binding wick in Luganda I call it wuzi. So now I trim. I don't have to trim exactly at the spine of the book because this binding wick may end up loosening up. So I leave something like a half an inch, then I trim from somewhere like here. So about my cutter, it's not sharp enough. Yeah, so even I trim this side. So I just get on part of my glue, then I put on the thread something of this nature like this. So this is step number 1. This is number 1. Step number 2. Step number 1 was creating signatures or creating book piles. Step number 2, binding the pile with a binding wick. So step number 3 will be binding a book with adhesive. Now the next step is binding book with adhesive, always binding glue. I'm using this glue. Always binding glue. I'm using this glue to bind my book, to bind the spine of the book. So I have to press weights on top of the book. These are weights so that my book lays flat and it is bound very well with adhesive or binding glue. I get things that are extremely heavy like this. Yeah, it holds it firmly. You can add more weights. If you don't have such weights, you can use ready-made book. You press them on top of your new book that you are making. So I get my binding glue and I start binding my book with glue, or what we call binding a book with adhesive. Now we leave it to stay for at least 15 minutes for the glue to turn hard and strong on the book. So as we are waiting for our book, our binding glue that we added to the book spine to turn hard and dry. So meanwhile we can be adding spreading glue on the cover board, because we're going to cover the cover board with a marble. So still I use my glue. I get my glue like this, then I go on spreading it on the cover board. As simple as eating, but eating matoke is sometimes hard. It is as simple as drinking juice. So I have to be extremely neat, because we are targeting money from our product and we have to create value for the money that the customers will give us for this book. I'm talking on your behalf as a book binder. Yes, so neat, fine and clean. I'm done with this. I have another one here. So now here we are. We have our marbles glued on the cover boards. Now I have my book here, which is well bound but not covered. This is the book. I have the cover boards glued, marbles glued on the cover boards. Yeah, now the remaining part, I have my paper fabric. Now I'm going to glue the paper fabric and I bind it on the spine of the book. Still using my glue. So I cover this at the spine of the book. I continue pressing weights on my book. Now I'll also glue the boards. So remember, this was the front part of the book. Now this is the back part of the book. Finally, I add the last cover fabric or paper fabric.